I'm Susie McMeekin, and I went to Chiron 1971-72 when it was in the Metropolitan Business College, and we were on the fourth floor, on fourth and fifth floor, I think. My schooling had come to, well, I wouldn't say stop. I'd been going to a private girls' school in Sydney, and I was unhappy there. And my next door neighbour, Cassie Plater, went to Chiron, and she said, "Why don't you come too?" And I went, "What a good idea!" So I did, and I left Skeggs in the first term of 1971, and so I did my year 11 and year 12 at Chiron, and it was fantastic. I think it was the making of me. It gave me a lot of self-confidence, and it was the self-confidence, I think, that made a huge difference. Having been all battered down by rules and regulations and always wanting to push those a bit and whatever, and John and Philip just said, "Look, you know, it's your life. You organise it the way you want it." And we did, you know. I think the first term I was there, I probably went to about 4 or 5 lessons, and the rest of the time I spent just trawling the city. Looking in the shops, talking to people, just, although I'd always gone to school in the city, it was the freedom to roam, you know, and there was a few of us used to do it, kind of head out in a group. And a place like Skeggs was, it was very good. I enjoyed it a lot of the time until I reached year 10, and then they wouldn't allow you to think for yourself. And I also remember I was a very lazy student, and I had a lot of trouble in year 10, and then I worked very hard and did quite well, did as well as I could possibly have done. And instead of them moving me up a class, they decided they weren't going to do that, and they kept me down in a lesser class. And at that stage I just thought, I'm over it. You know, I'd actually put the academic work in for the first time ever in my life, basically. Done well and expected to be rewarded, got no reward, so I just did what teenagers do, and I think what most people do is they just shut down. So, and at Chiron, you were just accepted, you know, and people were interested in you and what you thought, and I mean, it's so long ago now, I don't know, I just have this overall feeling of happiness and confidence, and there was, you know, the fact that school didn't start till 10 o'clock. Well, how sensible for teenagers who hate getting up early and going to school. Finished later, that didn't matter, that was fine. So you just, it was easier, it was more welcoming, it was just a better place to be, you know, and it was smack in the middle of Circular Quay, it was fantastic. The teachers at Chiron, it was informal. If you did your work, great. If you didn't, they weren't really all that fussed, and you took a certain amount with you all the time, you know. The teachers at Chiron were interested in you personally, and it was small enough for them to do that. In defence of the teachers at Skeggs, you know, there was 600 or 800 students there at Chiron. I think there were 30 in year 11 and 30 in year 12, you know. So there was that luxury. And they were friends, you know, they noticed if you arrived and you were a bit down in the dumps or whatever, and we noticed if they arrived and they were a bit down in the dumps. You know, there was this true friendship about the whole thing that just really mattered. And I still search for it now when if I'm working or whatever. And for the first time in years, I've actually got a job that pays me money, and I approach it the same way as I used to my teachers at Chiron. first name terms with the boss. Don't take any shit. You know, no, I can't do that today, I'll do it this day, blah, blah, blah. And he appreciates that. And we have this really good working relationship. So it's wonderful, and it's always stood me in good stead. If the person who was above me I could see was giving me bullshit, then I wasn't interested and I would tend to walk away, which probably saved everybody a whole lot of time and effort, I think. In all honesty, I don't think I ever considered what their expectations were of me at that school. I just was so happy to be in a community that liked me for who I was, rather than for what I could become that would be a credit to them, you know. Chiron accepted you for who you were at the time, warts and all, you know, and because I think to memory in our year there was only about 6 or 8 girls when I first went to Chiron, and we all kind of bonded fairly closely. And I can remember we used to every now and then we'd say, okay, we're going to go for a ferry ride and the boys can't come, you know, we're just going to go out. We're going to skip English and we're going to go for a ferry ride, you know, and it was really good. And I'm still friends with those women. Pretty extraordinary, I think. But it was that acceptance for who you were. And I seem to remember, you know, there were kids there with difficulties and whatever, and they were just accepted. We just accepted them. Didn't matter. A lot of us, I think, had run-ins with private schools, so we were just really pleased to be in a community that was happy to have us. It made a huge difference. When I finished school, it was extraordinarily difficult to go out and deal with it. Your confidence always allowed you to talk your way into positions, into jobs pretty quickly and easily, because you were happy and comfortable and, you know, yeah, no problem, I can manage that. And of course in the end you couldn't. And so then it got a bit difficult, and I lost quite a number of jobs, I think, because of that. But you find your way, because you have that confidence. You can take the knocks because you believe in yourself, because in those pivotal years people believed in you. You weren't trying to fight your way through authority and whatever. People were saying, no, that's fine, you're doing well, it's okay, you're a nice human being, you've got some good ideas there, blah, 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 blah. It gave you a great foundation. Yeah. I think for me, I think that having only the 2 senior years was the making of me. If I had had that amount of freedom before, I don't think I would have learnt any self-discipline I wouldn't have had that basis that you got in a really strict school where you must do this and you must do that and you must do the other thing. So by the time I got to Chiron, I did know that I did have to do some things, and it took me a term or two to just go, get the freedom nutbag thing out of the way, you know. And then I settled down, and I wasn't grandly successful at Chiron, intellectually, academically, whatever you want to say. But I think as a human being I blossomed, you know, and it's just stood me in good stead all my life. But I think a whole, well, who knows, you know, it's one of those unanswered questions. You'll never know, because it's never going to happen. Yeah. The structure of the friendships is extremely loose, but I think once again it's that time in your life where you make friends. I mean, a lot of people go to university and those friends they make there last their lifetime, because they're in that same sort of situation that we were in at Chiron. You've just left the rigours of traditional school. You have freedom to do what you like. You can study or not. And I think it was that those friendships that we made at Chiron were the same as the friendships that you would have made at university had you gone. I didn't go. You meet up with some of the girls again now, and we can just pick up straight away. Relaxed fashion. What are you doing? What are your kids doing? What's happening? You know. One of them I met, and Goth. I think it was last year, we had a tiny little reunion in a cafe in Newtown, just a few of us, and I had an exhibition on it in a gallery in Newtown, and we met at the gallery, and I hadn't seen her since we left school in '72. We just kind of picked up, you know. It was no effort, or I didn't find it an effort. I don't know if Anne did, I doubt it, you know, and it was terrific just to have a really good talk. So I was disappointed that I didn't make it last night, but I'm here today. I think one of the things that Chiron really taught me is that you can accept people as who they are, and it doesn't matter what they've done, or I don't know quite how to put it, but it really taught me acceptance of all sorts of people, because it was such a, if you want to look at it in tribal terms, because it was such a strange and varied tribe, whereas Skeggs was very definitely a you know, upper class Anglican, you know, well-to-do tribe, whereas Chiron had all sorts of people in it, and it taught me to just take people as they come, you know, and they might have done something awful, but they're still themselves, and I always believe that there's good in people, and I think that that's something that I really picked up on at Chiron, that you can just take people and give them a chance, and keep giving them a chance. Whether I did learn that at Chiron or whether that's just me, I don't know, but I tend to think it's a bit of Chiron there. The children, my children, our children, Don's and my children, went to state school because we weren't in a financial position to send them anywhere else. Don was a builder, but not a builder. He used to build earth houses, and inevitably the houses ended up costing us money rather than the other way around. And I was a potter, and I still am, and we all know how much artists make in Australia, so the kids went to state schools. But they've all done quite well. My son's an artist. He's just graduated from National Art School. My daughter's just about to graduate from the University of Canberra. The eldest one has 2 children, and the middle one, she's just about to graduate in social work up in Queensland. So they've made their own way, and I think they're gorgeous kids, but I'm a bit biased. Well, Chiron was a fabulous time in my life. I had a wonderful time, made lots of really good friends, regained my self-confidence, and regained my trust of authority figures, for however you wanted to look at John and Philip and the teachers. You know, they definitely proved that you could trust people over 30. So it was just a very happy time in my life. It really was. I just had a ball, and my parents were pleased because I was happy and not having a panic or whatever about anything. Not that I was a panicker, but you know, I was happy again and starting to make some reasonable decisions about my life and whatever. Which wasn't a lot, but the lot that I did make weren't too bad.